Welcome back to the channel again. So in this week's video, as promised, I'm going to move on to the Catalyst discovery sessions for the platform. So remember, if you want to be notified when the video is released, please subscribe to the channel. And if you do find it useful, then please give the video a thumbs up. Now, in this video, I'm going to start looking at the platform discovery sessions and the topics that should be on the agenda for these sessions. Now, in my experience, it's likely that these sessions will take place at the very start of the engagement. So the probability is that the delivery partner will and should have the experience to guide the discussions with the support of the Catalyst playbooks, which are open to all. So I highly recommend you look at Catalyst playbooks. We'll cover them more later in later videos. However, the customer should have two elements in mind by the time these discussions take place. Business tip 1. Before the engagement has started, the business should have built a business case for the acquisition of the integration capability, or whichever capability you're bringing in from MuleSoft. Catalyst is not limited to the Anypoint platform, as I've said before. Now, the customer team who are engaged in the initial platform discussions should be fully aware of the requirements and have a number of use cases already in mind in order to prove the capability as the installation begins. So a number of milestones that they've got in mind already. Remember, look at the delivery roles and the customer roles, and I'll put a link in the description below on my video on these roles. And if you have a look at those, you can then have a better start with ensuring the correct people are involved in the discussions. And finally, in this business tip, always remember that you have, or at least you should have, a detailed understanding of your own infrastructure processes, procedures, authentication and authorization processes, and wider industry and regulatory standards, all of which should contribute to the elements that need to be discussed in these sessions. So let's have a look at the topics to be covered in the platform discovery sessions. Unlikely it will be one, so be prepared. So the first topic is going to be the platform architecture. So it's important, as I've said, to understand the current environment into which the platform will be introduced. You will need to have, or have acquired, the skills to operate the platform and integrate it into your current authentication and authorization mechanisms using the standards which are in place or which can be easily extended to take account of the new platform. Although I've mentioned authentication and authorization already, it should be remembered that these are only a small part of the security requirements for the platform and the wider capability, so I would always advise getting the security team involved as soon as possible in these discussions. Now, you may already have naming standards in place, but you need to ensure that these can work with the new platform and capability, as well as looking at services that will need to be developed. Remember, we're always looking at platform separate to projects and reuse wherever possible. So at this stage, we need to start discussions on common services for logging, auditing, exception handling, caching, and security, to name a few. Straight into business tip 2, and I will say this many times across these videos. Start thinking and planning for these common services and other elements I will talk about shortly, but always be prepared to change anything that is found not to work. Don't try to force things beyond a reasonable level of change. Only you can decide what that reasonable level of change is in this context, but as in all things in life, if it's too hard, you're doing something wrong. Now, the next element up for discussion is DevOps and the DevOps approach. Now, if you don't have DevOps approach in your organization, you're going to need to build one from scratch, as manual deployments in an integration capability will not cut the mustard. Manual deployment is prone to errors and is too slow to meet normal integration requirements. Items to discuss here are build process, deployment process, configuration management, and of course, release management. You need to get these elements working smoothly and efficiently to have a good integration capability. So that's the agendas for the platform, common services and DevOps approach sessions, of which there may be many, as I've said, and certainly don't expect to get any of these subjects resolved in a single meeting. But now we have to look at the operational model that will need to be put in place to implement, operate the capability within the organisation. Now here I would highly recommend another look at the delivery partner and customer roles, again, along with the terms of the engagement, in terms of the longevity of the delivery partner's work within the customer organisation. Depending on the outcome of these discussions, you will need to consider training, staff retention, possibly recruitment, and the financial implications of whatever is decided. The operational model discussion, bearing in mind what I've just said, should then move on to the management structure between the delivery partner and the customer and how this is going to work. Now, finally in this area, a number of sessions will be required to determine the type of installation required, when it will be done, and who is going to do it. So let's zip straight into business tip 3. The installation type, and for an Anypoint platform installation, Cloud Hub, Hybrid, Anypoint Platform Private Cloud Edition, or Runtime Fabric, could be an easy decision based on, like I've said previously, the industry you work in, regulatory demands, or even security concerns. However, you need to take time to consider all options and understand the implications of the decisions you make. As the old saying goes, act in haste and repent at leisure. Some of the decisions that you make at this stage can be difficult to correct at a later stage. So really examine this in detail and make sure you're happy with the outcome. Now, that brings me to the end of this video on the platform discovery sessions. But remember that the Catalyst Knowledge Hub contains a lot of material that can help you with these sessions. And the remaining sessions on projects and organisational enablement that we'll cover in the next 2 videos will also have material in the Catalyst Knowledge Hub. You will have access to the Knowledge Hub, so make yourself familiar with the content and use the experience that has been gained and documented within its contents. And of course, you can also ask me. So if you've got any questions at all on anything that I've covered so far, and we are approaching the end of the first section of the course overall, then put them in the comments below and I will try and get back to you as soon as I can. And hopefully we'll see you next time.